We'll take it.
Okay.
Okay, so me and Brian up to this point had been talking about talismans
Yeah.
and how all the cool kids didn't like my election. So the truth is, I didn't even say anything because I didn't feel like getting roasted. I've been roasted in this room before. When I released my hip hop album Bussin', then I was really proud of the election, and people were
Yeah.
like, "Oh, that's a trash election," and I was like, "You know, the album came out anyway, so maybe say congratulations." And so this time I just didn't open myself up to it. I just did what I was gonna do. So I made some talismans, but they had a Saturn in Aries overcoming Jupiter in Cancer, and you were saying something about how power is involved in some way.
Yeah. So one of the ways to make geomantic talismans that I think about a lot is, and we've talked about it before, but it's called a tasking. And this is a really more out of the Rommel tradition, but it got kind of ported in by some geomancy stuff. So there's probably a better or like a more complete Rommel version, the sort of Arabic version. But this is how it sort of got to me. And in this, what you do is you arrange the alchemy of geomancy in a way that gives you the best outcome. But because of the math and geomancy, that means you're going to have to take some negatives.
Sure.
And the art of that is constructing it in such a way as so that the negatives add power to what you're doing, or at least detract as little as possible from the power of what you're doing. But there are times when, and geomancy also thinks about this too, it's like a figure is not negative in and of itself for the most part. So, for example, Rubeus, the bloody, is negative in almost all things in the traditional attributions, but not in surgery, because that's a time where you want somebody to get bloody, right? Or if you're about to if you're in some sort of scenario where like, I gotta go crazy and beat up 5 dudes and get out of this room. Like I gotta go full Wolverine feral to get out of this room right now.
Sure.
Rubeus is your friend. You want that on your side at that point in time. So context matters quite a lot, and relationality in the case of the larger chart matters quite a lot. So like how Rubeus is relating to the other figures in the other houses and in the structure can change that outcome. So I think sometimes people don't because, as you were pointing out, that in general in talismans you want to try to add as much bonus, just simple good, make it easy as possible. I think that in most cases that's probably a good plan. I'm not objecting to that, but I think sometimes
Best case scenario.
Yeah, I think sometimes we skip out though on some power because we don't accept enough possible negative to take the risk. That like those harder elements can temper something. Now, to be fair, I did tease Ivy pretty hard about doing some magic on an election that I thought was pretty spicy around
Sure.
eclipses and shit. But it's not that you can't do it. It's not that you shouldn't do it. It's just that what does that bake into what you're doing? And it may very well be worth it, right? Like it may be. So what do you think having Saturn overcoming in that case? How does that influence it? Like, what does that bring to the situation?
Yeah, well, sure. So the way that I had this Jupiter and Cancer rising. It was a Jupiter Venus conjunction in Cancer on the rising, and then Saturn overcoming in the 10th in Aries. And so the both of them are separating from Saturn at that point and pretty far away. So this one, I didn't feel too bad about ignoring Saturn.
Right.
Like Saturn in Aries sort of sucks to work with. Like I don't mind working with Saturn, but generally you want to be like, Saturn, bring me your ability to do boring things and make greatness out of it, or something like that. You know what I mean? Like lend me your ability to create powerful frameworks that prioritize magnificently, or something like that. Saturn's really good at those things. Saturn is trash at all of the Saturn things in Aries. And so
Sure.
I was just trying to dodge it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the way that I elected it was I made sure that Saturn was not on the midheaven. and wasn't, and that the midheaven wasn't in Aries. So the midheaven, a lot of times with a Cancer rising, you can get the midheaven in Pisces. And so you just have to elect earlier in the sign, which is fine because I needed that in order to get the hour as well. So the planetary hour matters. And so I did that, and I think it's gonna be fine.
I think so too.
You know, like we're gonna see what happens here, but I'm not super concerned about it. But I did make them, and I have. So the one before that was a week before, and it was. I also did a Mercury in Gemini on the same day. So I did a Jupiter in Pisces. I think or a Jupiter in Cancer with a Pisces rising. And so it was at like 2:00 in the morning or something like that. And then waited until Mercury in Gemini was on the rising, and then did a Mercury talisman also. And I'm pretty certain that one worked. The little bunnies came out, and it was a
Oh, that one. Yeah.
yeah, it was that one. It was I don't necessarily need to go into all the context.
No.
It'll take way longer than the payoff is. Dear listener at home, I promise the payoff is not worth it. I could explain it. It's not gonna be worth it to you. But I did that talisman, and so it was the Pisces rising with Jupiter in the fifth, and I think it's been really good in the sense that it has cultivated a lot of creativity in me, and a desire for pleasure in the creative space. I've been really interested in artwork and this kind of thing, and to the detriment of the rest of my life. I'm not doing shit now except playing the piano poorly, and so I don't. This is great, and I think it's good for me probably in life, and I think that the piano is good for people and stuff, and I am people, so the piano is probably good for me. But man, I have not been getting my homework done, and your boy needs to do some homework out here.
Yeah, man. Do you think that's a case of like putting the talisman in a bag for a couple days, or you know what I mean? Like, is it removing that energy, or?
Sure, I do have a Faraday bag that would probably work. I usually put my phone in there, but for the nighttime. But a Faraday bag would probably do the job.
I use envelopes.
Yeah,
I'm just like, go to sleep in here.
Sure, I guess so. Yeah, I might be able to do that. I might be able to like say a prayer or whatever. But But I mean, I cover them all the time. You know what I mean? I'll carry it around in a little bag or put it in my pocket or something like that. You know, like an envelope ain't gonna do shit as far as I'm concerned. But I don't know. I'm also experiencing this difficult transit right now where I've got Saturn on the midheaven, and I just don't feel like doing anything. I don't feel like doing any of my work, and none of my work feels like it's doing anything useful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's part of the reason why I started the Figure It Out Loud segment of the podcast, is because I just wanted to wander around for a little bit. You know, it's not just Saturn on my midheaven, and midheaven ruler, which I have Mars and Aries on the midheaven in my natal chart. But it's also Neptune there, and Neptune is very good for delusion and confusion and just kind of like wandering around aimlessly. So that has been the vibe for sure, for real. Oh, you look like you had something interesting to say, so we can come back to that.
No, keep going.
Okay, well, for several weeks on this podcast, I've been talking about how I'm going to release a Truck Stop Magic series. I did use a Jupiter and Cancer election to do that. So
wait, you didn't tell me.
I didn't tell anyone. I didn't announce it at all. I said nothing about it. This is the first announcement.
Well, I'm glad there's an announcement. This is good. Hold on. I'm going to fucking go pick up some shit.
yeah. You know, so I did 2 lectures on Truck Stop Magic. One is sort of conceptual, and then it gets into divination as well. So the idea that you can read cards using playing cards. Playing cards have quietly turned into my favorite card deck to read.
Yeah.
The drawback with playing cards is that you don't have trumps, and it's good to have some trumps around sometimes. You know, like it's good to have some big ones versus some small ones, and it's good to have some images versus pips. You know, like I like having
Yeah.
pips that are just numbered. So you've got 5 diamonds, and that's all that appears on the image, and that sort of thing. Like I like that sort of situation. And I really like playing cards because they look at one another. They look side to side, you know, in the way that a Marseille deck does or something like that. But I miss trumps sometimes. But they are my go-to deck. They're the one that I use most frequently, and I get pretty good readings from them for the most part. And so it's this idea of like if you are stranded at a truck stop somewhere, then you need to be able to use whatever's around you in order to magic your way out of trouble. And so playing cards will be readily available around you. They'll be $5 or whatever. They'll be wildly overpriced at a truck stop. So and $5 is wildly overpriced for you should not be paying more
Yeah.
than like 50 cents for playing cards, honestly. But um but yeah, so you can do that, and then you can also sigils are basically free. You know, you if you can find paper and pen, and you can find free paper and pen at a truck stop. So
Absolutely.
that's a good way to sort of get yourself started and get yourself sort of in the mindset that if the world is made of magic, which in fact the world is made of magic, then it's all around you at all times. And so
Yeah.
you don't need the fancy gold foil or the sword that was stuck in the stone for just
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
millennia or whatever. Like you don't have to have like it's cool to have fancy stuff. It's cool to have a pearl handled dagger that has actually killed
Yeah.
someone in order to conjure your spirit or whatever. But like you don't need that shit. You can just use magic that is currently around you. You can,
Yeah.
like, sometimes I'll be stopped at a truck stop or something like that, and there'll be magic plants that are planted next to the, like, there's a Taco Bell next to my crib that has beautiful roses outside.
Yes.
And I have taken those roses in order to do Venus magic before that fucking worked. And you know what I mean? Like the world is made of magic, so you can find that in your very quotidian location.
Well, and particularly these crossroads locations, like a truck stop. And
Sure,
then
yeah, big
also just
crossroads
like
vibes at a truck stop, right?
big crossroads, also big caravanserai. You know what I mean? Like the whole idea of like this is where people will stop to exchange goods and talk and stories and like honestly, you probably aren't talking too much to other people at most truck stops, but you can
Sure.
almost always talk to the clerk. You know what I mean? Like the person, like you can get a conversation going if you want to, and there's so many stories that are constantly moving through places like that. I like one of the things I really I love eavesdropping. Period. Eavesdropping is one of my favorite things to do. If you are within 20 feet of me, I am listening to you. Like, just it's I kind of can't turn it off, but you can catch snippets of what's happening and the weirdness of the world around you all the time, and so there's so much to just kind of like take a little nibble off of as you go. Yeah, so like news, information, weird tchotchkes that have their own cursed and or blessed, you know, possibilities. And then there's also like so many. You probably talk about this, but there's so many opportunities for offerings. So like, there's good coffee you can use. There's
I didn't mention
some
that, but that's good.
some truck stops you can get those little nips too, so you can get alcohol to offer. Like it's honestly, depending if you're working with like Mercury or something, any of those like 5 hour energy shit probably counts as some kind of offering to something.
Sure, sure.
Yeah,
I would probably go Mars with that because it's so overdrive.
that's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, I mean, there's plenty of like the whole
yeah,
a truck stop is a Mercury concept, right? Like
yeah.
I spent when I was back editing it, I was like, this is an inordinate amount of time talking about Mercury right now. Like you maybe can chill on the Mercury, but truck stops are Mercury
Yeah.
in every direction. You know what I mean? Like the crossroads nature of it, the like coming and going, the trucks in general, the sort of like what's it called? The distribution
Yes.
networks. You know,
Yeah.
Mercury loves distribution networks.
Absolutely.
The whole thing.
It's funny,
And
you know.
magic is Mercury up and down. So like this is a
Up and
perfect
down.
place for it.
Also, like they do have their own wild myths and legends and powers in their own stuff too. So like, man, if you've been to a Buc-ee's, like that shit is a cult that happens to have a giant distribution network. There's even like idols to gold, to like fucking squirrels and shit.
Totally,
like,
totally.
The first time Marissa was like, we're stopping at a Buc-ee's, we're going in. Like, she's like, pay attention to the roast beef sandwich song or brisket sandwich song. And I was like, that's a strange, everybody's there singing like an old, almost like a sea shanty. They're singing a song as they're making these brisket sandwiches. And I was like, this is odd. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is attracting odd things. And we were also literally like, hey, to one of the workers, I was like, can we get a replaceable steel straw for like a drinking cup? Like, we lost the straw. She's like, of course. It's right over there. And you're like, yeah, that's not supposed to happen in, you know what I mean, like human history. Like, that's a really weird thing. But we've put a lot of energy. Buc-ee's is its own strange example, but we've put a lot of energy into building these places up to make it a place. Like, I love the Love's truck stops out in the East because you can camp overnight. But it's designed to get you anything you might need to get back on the road, and to provide you a safe place to sleep, and a shower, and a place to get, and so it's like, it's also a very human. We need these things, right? We need to sleep. We need to have this. We need to acknowledge our physical needs. It's like, yes, we have built a network of these for you. This is for you as a human being. So that's also something that I think puts a lot of good story and power into those places. Just
totally. Yeah. And so we're talking a lot about truck stops right now, and truck stops are really cool. But like, the idea here is that no matter where you are, you should be able to use what is around you in order to make magic happen, because you are made of magic, and because magic is real in the world, then that means that this is available to you. This is not something that you don't need to do the whole Golden Dawn OTO, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, you can just do your bit. And if you do that, then like, if you can get your mind right, if you can put yourself into right relation with space, then that is magic, and that can help to move you toward your outcomes. This is the idea around truck stop magic. So I've been thinking about it for a long time, and spoke about it. It was wintertime when I did the lectures, you know what I mean? And then I went back and was editing the lectures and everything. And then, you know what happened? The algorithm, this is an interesting thing that I've been thinking about a little bit, is that recommendation algorithms are kind of magic that we need to learn how to harness. We need to learn how to make recommendation algorithms which are ruling the world. We need to be able to tap that power, because right now they're just running us. And so we need to find good ways to make them work for us instead of letting them work us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the recommendation algorithm has been right a couple of times for me, more than a few. But they miss a lot. But every once in a while they get a strong hit. Gordon White was one of them. Gordon, it just like kept serving me rune soup. It was like, listen, you need to know about rune soup. And then that fucking changed my life. And then another one that was the same way. It just like kept feeding it to me until I went in and I watched one and it blew my whole shit up. CJ the motherfucking X.
Right.
Once I finally watched a CJ the X video, I was like, oh, this is perfect for me. This is perfect for who I am. And but then I watched CJ the X's videos and was like, oh, everything I've ever made is trash. Nothing I've ever made is any good at all.
You gotta be careful with this sometimes.
Right. So I just lost faith in everything that I had. So I had done these lectures already, and then I just lost faith in them. I was like, I can't put this into the world. I can't charge money for this when CJ the X has given you this brony video for fucking free. Like, what? Insane. So,
but what brought you back? Like, why'd you actually put it out
There
there?
was a good election. I was like, I gotta get it out at some point. So like,
Right.
like there's a certain amount of you just can't let the perfect be the enemy of the good.
You cannot.
And I don't even know that what I'm doing is good right now, but it's like, out. It is released.
So you were describing having lost faith temporarily in your own capacity. What I would actually say is that to me sounds like the ordeal of faith or the test of faith. That,
Sure.
like, because if I don't, and I've just had this happen a bunch, I don't need to be kicked in the nuts about how I'm doing myself right now. I'm actually
Alert.
I'm very good. I'm good. I'm listening. But I've had periods where, and even on this most recent project, which is I'm just working on the essay for that, and then I'm going to start shopping it. So I will actually start bringing out those devil poem pieces that are not going to be a part of it. I'm going to start releasing those. I'll put one.
Cool.
I'll put one live this weekend. But there was a moment in there where I was like, I nailed it. You know what I mean? Like, it's done. Thing's done. And I handed it over to Jess, and she was like, what if you missed an entire segment that's going to take you another 6 to 8 months to finish? And I was like, that would be hard to hear.
Right.
But she was right. Absolutely right. And I needed that
Just be annoyingly right about
impact.
shit.
Yes. Very much so.
Hit you with that side shit, and you'd be like,
You're
I'm
like, oof.
sensitive.
Yeah, oof. I will work another 6 to 8 months. Yeah.
Right.
But that doubt, and then the rebuild, that, like, in taking the devotional time to rebuild the connection and stuff, like, 100% made it stronger, made it better. There does come a point where, like, it needs to be done now. I need to move on to
Sure.
the next thing. I need to let it go. But I think too, in your case, and you might say I'm overstating, which is fine, but the practice of the astrology, where you're like, I mean, I'm not going to get a better election. You know what I mean? Like, I need to, if I'm going to
Sure.
release it, I need to do it. That can help with some of those doubt moments too, because you're like, this is the time to let it go. And
Yeah, well,
see
what
it
I
does.
really experience with these elections is FOMO more than anything else. Like, I had both benefics on my fucking rising.
Yeah.
Like, I was just like, I gotta do everything I can with this. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna, and what really I probably should have done with some of those is like sleep. Like, good
Yeah.
cancer would have been really good for sleep. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I didn't do none of that shit. And I probably paid for it because I got sick afterward. But I didn't do no
Yeah.
restorative shit. I was getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning trying to, or earlier than that, in
It's
order to
rough.
prepare for the 3 o'clock election and doing the shit. And you know what I mean? But like, cause the sky was looking so good. And then, man, I was looking at these July skies recently because I have this election report that you could get through
Yep.
Patreon, and every day I look through every day and give you an election for the day, or alternatively, I'll tell you to wait and just be like, hold up, let everybody else overshoot right now, and then you can come back and
Yeah.
get the real deal a little bit later. So I think it's a good document for that reason. And if you want to join my Patreon for only $1, then you can do that. But I was looking at my Patreon or I was looking at the election report for the upcoming month, and I was like, man, I don't like any of this. There's 2 minutes that I like in in the month of July.
Yeah. Listen,
Like,
there's always
the window is so slim. There's a really beautiful window of Jupiter conjunct Jupiter, or Jupiter conjunct the sun in Leo, and trine to and the moon is applying within minutes, in Sagittarius. Love to see this overcoming trine between.
Hell yeah,
Oh,
dude.
love to see it. And then it's the hour of the sun, and rising. You get 2 minutes, at least in my location.
I
In
want
your
to hit it.
location, maybe it's better, but it is. There's these 2 minutes, and one of the things that happens to me when I'm making these electional reports is, especially in a bad month, I get I get frustrated. So I'll get halfway through the month and then like go through an existential crisis and be like, I can't, because I'm like trying to find something good and I just can't find anything. And I just keep rotating the chart to try to find something and nothing's working. And I get really tired about it. So but then this moment arrives and I was like, oh, it's glorious. And that, but it's all, and then it's gone afterward. And
Well, then you just got to switch over to the planetary shit. You got to get rough and you got to get rugged like the rest of us. You got to get out here and just start throwing stuff at hours and having me
yeah,
make you
right,
weird
right.
geomantic talismans. And you're like, this isn't pretty. And I'm like, no, it's not
Yeah,
pretty,
you just
but
deal
it'll
with
get you
it.
through
But
it.
we're
Yeah.
we're in a moment where you got to deal with it. You got to, and the way that I've been thinking about that a lot is with Uranus and Gemini. I feel like Uranus is really strong in Gemini, and we need to maybe lean into that. And the thing about the mad scientist thing is you get a lot of shit wrong. You try for that one magnificent thing
Right.
that goes right, but there are like 1,000 wrongs. There are 1,000
Yeah.
broken experiments that don't work out properly, and that makes the way for your one. So you just got to get in there and be ready to get a lot of shit wrong and embrace getting a lot of
Yeah.
shit wrong.
And I will say, I think part of that is so. My teacher Charles Simic was very clear. He's like, when you're writing, you're a god. When you're editing, you're a worm. And hopefully, in the middle, you'll end up like a man. you know,
Yeah,
like,
word.
you know.
That's real.
But I think there's some of that mad scientist. Like, you just got to be like, this went wrong. I know what went wrong. I'm taking in the data to improve, but it's not my fault. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a certain amount of like
Yeah,
yell
word.
at Igor, do this, like curse the skies for whatever it is, and you're like, but not me. No, I'm gonna do another. I'm clever, and I'm gonna keep moving.
Sure,
Uh,
sure.
that can be helpful.
Yeah, well, I mean, Venus is in Virgo for July, and the thing that I kept trying to write in the electoral report is kill your darlings. So just every time, like, because even the good elections that I found, which were not good, they were really pruny. You know what I mean? They were not pruny like raisiny, like your fingers getting weird under the water,
Yeah, yeah,
but like pruning or trimming or
yeah.
shaving things back and pairing. It's this idea that like there's too much over here, and I know you really like it. I know this is so much fun for you, but fuck that. Nobody cares, you know.
Right.
And so and because it's Venus and Virgo, fucking square to Mars and Gemini, conjunct Uranus in
You're gonna
Gemini.
make
It's
some
just
cuts, bro. You're gonna have to
I
make
don't
some
like
cuts.
it.
Yeah. I will say this. Um, Again, something Jess put me on, but like saying no to more things. Although pot kettle. But anyway, the saying no to more things is a very freeing thing. Like hurts to do. Like can be very painful to be like I'm not going to go to this. I'm not going to do these things. And you don't want it to just become the power of staying home. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing better than like canceling plans in some way.
Right, right.
So you don't want to go that far. But when you look around, you're like, when you start to realize how much you're encouraged to take every single second out of your life and have it tasked to as many different things as possible, not even like just one devotional thing. It's like 13 different things and everything wants your attention. When you start cutting that down, you're like, oh, now only two things have my attention. Like, I did when Marissa moved over here, she helped me sit down. She's like, what if you could only have 3 blocks of time in your day? Like 3 things to achieve. And I was like, like my whole body revolted. Like I
Sure.
was like, I'm not built like
Virgo rising
that.
was not about that shit.
No, it was not. And I was having a hard time. And then, but I realized that like, okay, but if I actually treated these as time blocks in which related things could fit, but I am going to really focus. I am going to really just achieve these 3 things. I'm really going to do this. Man, my power level went up tremendously. Speaking again of power, like my ability to get things done, my stress level went down. I was spreading myself too thin, like absolutely. And she clocked it real fast. And those of us who are smart and talented and able to do a lot of things, you get this fucking millennial gifted kid syndrome of like, well, that means I can do all the things. And you're like, no, it doesn't actually. It means you should be about your own business and the things that are given to you to do. So anyway, the energy you're describing feels to me like it could lead you down that path in a good way of like, all right, I'm going to kill a few of these things and focus up.
Yeah. That's really legit. And so I usually think about that as a Saturn thing. So Saturn's job is to say no to things, and then by like my favorite metaphor to use is the tunnel, right? So you create walls, and then you say no to everything else around those walls that wants to be inside that interior space. You say no to that. You keep that out in order that you can transmit ideas or people or goods or whatever, right? Like you can go underwater or underground or whatever. And so that is an act of prioritization. No to that stuff so that we can say yes to this stuff, right? And I think it's really important to remember that whenever Saturn is up in your grill, it's really good to remember that by saying no to a bunch of stuff, that actually means that I can say yes to the things that actually do matter to me. And so Saturn is not actually trying to say no, but rather Saturn is trying to prioritize a few things. And it's interesting, the number associated with Saturn is 3, in the same way that Jupiter is associated with 4, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I always say to people is if you have more than 3 priorities, you have 0 priorities.
I've found it to be literally true. Do you know what I mean? Like
Saturn loves a good literal truth.
It does. You know, it's interesting too in the geomancy stuff. The 2 Saturnine figures are Carcer, the cell or the circle, you know, and then Tristidia, which is sadness, but it looks like a funnel basically, and the images of like you sitting at the bottom of a well, right? But in a way of like scholarship and stuff, where it's like I have shut out, sort of exactly what you're talking about with the tunnel, too, of like shut this out. But one of the things about Carcer is that it's another figure that is typically considered bad because it's one of restriction, right? It's like getting caught in jail, not good. However, it is also the magic circle. Like it is you can't do this without a creation of a space for clarity. It's also one of its cases where it's good actually is if you're trying to get married. Like,
sure.
Because Saturn, because it's also the wedding ring, which is the same thing. It's an exclusion of other things to devote to this one or multiple people.
Well, it's also a commitment to the long term.
It is.
Right.
Yep.
Very Saturn. So yeah, right. Love all of that. Love it.
Sure.
The problem is that Saturn sucks right now.
Yes.
So, so that's one of the things, because like this is the first time that I've been doing this electional report while Saturn has been in Aries. So when I started doing the electional report, Saturn was in Capricorn.
Right,
and then Saturn loves being in Capricorn. And then after that, Saturn was in Aquarius. Saturn loves being in Aquarius. Yeah. And so I would have these moments where I was like, like just dying about it, where I was like, oh, all of these elections suck. And it's just that they were actually really malefic elections. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they were really strong Saturn. But now I'm getting these elections where Venus is in Virgo and Saturn is in Aries and the sun is with Mercury retrograde and Mercury is retrograde in a water sign, and Mars is with Uranus. Who am I electing for right now? Right. Every single rising sign sucks.
Yeah,
for one reason.
Disjointed. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. You know what I mean? And so, like, listen, if your baby is born under one of these skies, then this actually is the stuff of that stars are made of. This is the thing that greatness is made of. Excellence is made of this because you don't have an easy go of things. And so when you have an easy go of things, it makes you a little lazy. But when you have a difficult go of things, then you figure out a way to do it even when things suck. And then that makes you stronger and more powerful. And I love all of that. Okay. So for your natal situation, I love your detrimented or accidentally or essentially debilitated planets. I love that. We can work with this, okay? However, on electional principles, this is not what I want.
So
This is worse than having a good Saturn who is just dominating everything.
for sure, I think I'm interested in something here that you're sparking something for me. So we're not going to spend much time with Lord of the Rings, I promise. Wyatt just finished Lord of the Rings. We
Or
listened
no.
to it together. It was good.
Yeah.
But
Shout out to
it
Wyatt, who made it all the way through. I didn't make it.
well, he also had to take breaks. I mean, we took breaks. But the one of the things, so there's the end of the story, and then in typical Tolkien fashion, there's like an appendix. Now, I like this shit. I like
Sure.
things like this in medieval history. But listening to an audiobook appendix where they're like, and then Thorol, son of Thingol, Thingol, son of Fingal, Fingal, and I'm like, no, we're not doing this on the way to school. Like, this is not, I'm
Right.
not that dad. We're not doing that. But it got me thinking about his myth. One of my favorite non-Lord of the Rings things, or, well, non-official book things, is Tolkien's story of creation, the Ainulindale. And in it, the great enemy basically decides he's just going to make everybody's singing their songs. He's going to try to sing his own song, and he doesn't want it to sound like anybody else's song. He wants to sound like his song. He's tired of other people's songs, and then he gets mad that nobody wants to join in his song, so he tries to go fuck up their songs. He's creating all this discord and all these different elements and everything else, and the other people are like going to the god figure, Iluvatar, and they're like, he's fucking everything up. Like, you got to stop him. And he's like, well, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. And in that version, the greater harmony that existed, nothing he could do was outside the greater harmony. Nothing he could do could get out the Tao, right? And so that just created a different kind of music. It was different than it would have been had he not done that. He had the ability to choose whether he wanted to add these discordant notes. But that did only contribute to the grander harmony at the end of all things that was so beautiful. So when we come to something like this, where it's like everything's disjointed, everything seems out of whack, I'm like, what grand harmony are we missing? What is the secret thing here that would thread this for us? Because I do believe we exist in a grander harmony, or what we have is the Tao. And so part of the way we get past suffering is to reframe and understand what's happening in a different sort of way. So do you have any early thoughts on like what that might be, or do you expect this time to teach you,
On what the grander harmony might be?
to this moment? Like, so what is the pattern where these things no longer appear disjointed, where we can see their or what framing would allow us to understand them in a more connected way?
Sure. Well, the way that you frame that there is this like greater harmony, which is what might be thought of as the greater good or something like that, right? The thing that the universe is trying to do is the great sort of unified whole that is the Tao,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so you can never do anything that is outside of that. You always have to participate in the Tao and that sort of thing, right? So this sort of makes me remember that there is much beauty in tragedy, you know?
Sure.
And so so in Which Way to Wisdom, I spent a little bit of time thinking about what constitutes good and bad. Like how can we think of an ethical morality in the space that we actually live in? And a good thing to remember here is that what I like and what is good are not necessarily the same thing.
For sure.
And so when I think of planets that are uncomfortable, then I think of experiences that I expect to not like,
Right.
not experiences that are inherently bad necessarily,
Right.
right? And so that is only one way to define moral goodness versus badness, but it's the one that I think speaks most directly to the you didn't call it the Cimmerillion, the and
Ainulindale. It's in the Silmarillion. Yeah. It's like
sure.
a chapter. It's like a song.
Oh, I see, I see. I had thought that that was
Yeah.
the whole thing. Shows what I know.
If only.
So, but I think that's the way to think about it. That it speaks most directly to the Ainulindale, and with that in mind, if we think about the astrology of this moment, then like you know, it's this idea of like you're gonna have to get a bunch of them wrong in order to get the one that you
Right.
want right.
Right.
So like go through it a little bit. That's what Mercury retrograde is for. Mercury retrograde is for going through it, like for looking at the thing that I thought was going to be great and then reevaluating that and
got a
having
funny-
to be delayed and slowed down by the whole thing and being like, well, I guess I have to deal with this now. But best case scenario, maybe I'll have a good story. Like Brian has a good story for me right now.
No, a funny one anyway. So, was driving back from the garden the other day in my old beat up Prius, and I had done a lot of magic and a lot of work to get this through the winter and to get things into this current time period because it has a problem with the catalytic converter, and fixing this is more than the car is worth. And
Yep.
so got graced very much by the spirits to sort of be like, we'll have it pass inspection, right? You get it for the winter, you get it through. In that process, I did a whole bunch of thinking around if I did have to get rid of the car, what would I do, right? So I made some plans and everything else. But then the car passes, so I put those plans to the side and don't really focus on them. I need to fix up my truck. I was like, cool, I'll get that done, right? Driving home from the garden the other day, car's performing great. All of a sudden, the terrifying red triangle with the exclamation point comes on in a Prius. That is bad news. That is a go to the factory kind of thing. Go to the dealer. And my mechanic is right down the street, so take it down to him. And they're like, buddy, this is it. Like it needs a new battery pack. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like it's $10K to get the whole thing redone. It's worth $800. Like it's just
Yeah.
we don't recommend you even go further with trying to make the repair. She's
Terrible.
done. We're taking her to the junkyard.
Uh-huh.
Sad to see a car go. She did great service. You know what I mean? A lot of good memories, but also thank you. You've done great. Because I did all that earlier work, I feel pretty good about this. I have a plan. I know what I'm going to do. I got the money saved up a little bit better than I did at the time before. Things are great. They need the title to junk it. And I was like, fair enough. Let me go get the title. I know where it is in my house. I'll bring it back over. Get there, and they go, this is an Illinois title. I was like, yeah, that's where I bought the car. And they're like, but you live in New York. And I was like, like it's not clicking. And they're like, you should have had a New York title issued to you when you registered the car in the state. And I was like, well, the car's been registered in the state for 16 years. But all I have is this Illinois title. And they're like, well, but you should have you should have surrendered this to get the other one. You shouldn't have this at all. And I was
Sure.
like, well, that's cool, but this is my title.
But
You know what I mean? This is
here
what
it
I
is.
have. Yeah, so clearly something didn't happen. So I'm looking around. It's possible that like Syracuse, when I moved up there, just like didn't actually give me a copy or whatever. But like, in order to get rid of this car, I'm going to have to possibly call the New York DMV to get a new title for the car I'm getting rid of. And I was like, sometimes this astrology shit is too real. Like, this is just
Word.
too real.
Yeah. Leave me alone, please.
Yeah, I was, and like, to me, one of the nice things about those moments is you get a little sort of like, dark humor about it, where you're like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
what are you gonna do? It's just how the world works, And like the mechanics, like,
Right.
I'm really sorry, man. I gotta see. We'll see if we can help and if we can do anything. And I'm like, I'm gonna have to talk to the DMV. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like
Yeah.
this is the way these
Yeah,
things
yeah,
work.
you're gonna have to like re-register the car or some shit like that.
Yeah,
This is
who knows?
right. I hate this, but yeah, this is right. So you have described an annoying mess of bullshit that you have to go through
Right?
in order to make the thing even go away. You can't even get
I
rid
can't
of
even go away. I mean, at some point, like it's at
I
the
hate
point
this.
where it's like, I don't know, maybe I'll just drive it to a junkyard and walk away. You know what I mean? Like, just
Sure.
abandon it
Yeah,
there.
yeah. It's
You
a
know?
it's a thought that enters your mind, right?
Yeah, I got my plates. They don't, who knows?
Sure, sure. Is there any other identifying? There's probably other identifying
The
information.
VIN
of
number. They
VIN.
could get the VIN.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they do it off that.
Uh-huh. And of course, you would never do that kind of thing, and I
No.
wouldn't expect any sort of
I'm a
behavior
very
such as
upstanding
this.
gentleman. Very
Indeed,
upstanding.
indeed. I am glad
Google
that
searches
you
that-
are as law-abiding as you are, because you are the strongest American citizen who yet lives, and I'm glad to see
My,
it.
my patriotism runs deep.
It does.
I bleed,
it does.
I bleed
You've told
red,
me about this
white,
before.
and blue.
Remember that time when I came over and you tried to get me into the sauna, and I forgot. I was thinking about being in a sauna, and so I didn't bring any of my shit with me. I was just like, because I don't want to deal with the foreign locker room situation. I just don't want to deal with any of the, like, important paperwork and shit like that. Like, I don't have any of this, so I didn't have any of my ID, and they wouldn't let me in. And you were on some real like
I'm still mad.
Virginia landowner shit, like up in the spot, being like, "Do you know who my family is? What are you?" Like, I was, I was very surprised by this. That would have never occurred to me. You know,
There's a couple modes. Yeah, people don't always encounter it, like, because most
have
of
you
the time,
ever been to Roanoke before?
Yeah, totally, dude. Yeah, yeah. No, it's like it's hard to even explain to people who, like, if you run into me most times and we are generally courteous to each other, you will never even know I have a temper. You will never even know this exists. But discourtesy to my friends is something that puts me in full "we will meet with pistols at dawn" mode. Like completely insane stuff. Like, I say shit and then later on I'm like, what the fuck came out? Like, there's some ancestor who just manifests and is probably the fucking Virginia landowner pain in the ass guy, but like, I get real hot. It takes a while, but to be fair, I am legitimately still mad about this, and it will probably take me about 15 years to calm down. Like, it's just
Word. Well, this
Yeah.
time I plan to bring my identification with me, and we can.
that's cool. Yeah, we'll go to the sauna. It'd be nice.
Yeah, we can hang out in the sauna and sweat it. Well, one of my favorite things about the sauna is like you sweat it out at a certain level, and then you really get into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You get comfortable enough that you're like, oh, man, you know what I've really been thinking about, and and you go in. I really like that space.
It's a mixed gender sauna at the place that I go to, and
Sure.
which is, the dynamics are incredible. So like, you'll have this, if you had the displeasure of being in a man's sauna, there is always one old man who is there to tell you his opinions on everything. And sometimes this is entertaining and it's good. Most of the time it is disturbing and sad. Like, that's just
Word.
like the way it goes. Anytime a woman comes in, that dude shuts up. That dude, because now there's a lady who isn't going to listen to his bullshit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
You know, that is an interesting thing.
Yeah.
That like it's not just that she isn't gonna like humor his
Right.
bullshit in the way that I definitely do humor.
I'm
his
required
bullshit.
to. Yeah.
How
same.
how many times has a dude told me about the flat Earth in the sauna? I will tell you, it's 6. So, you know, like this. Because I'll sit there and I'll be like, where? What's your model? What you got for me? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they present different models, and sometimes there's enough going on there that I'm like, maybe I should think about that for a
You
second.
got to be careful how long you've been in there for when they start talking. That's the other thing. You got to,
Right, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm open. You know what I mean? And so I'm in a spot. But like but what I'm coming back to is that it's not just that she's not required to listen to that in the same way, but also he's got a level of respect for that,
Yes,
for
he does.
the feminine, for the woman, where he's
Yeah.
just not going to subject her to that in a way. You know, I've thought a little bit about like the idea of locker room talk, you know? And so locker room talk, it's this segregated space where you can say things that the other sex or gender is not going to hear.
Correct.
And so that gives you a level of freedom to say things that you wouldn't say in mixed company. She doesn't give a shit about the flat earth, but this guy's got to hear me out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I would be given to understand that women have locker room talk as well.
This is my understanding as well.
And so, if you say locker room talk, then it sounds like it's going to be crass and gross and terrible.
Right.
But what if we didn't think of it as, what if we didn't judge it immediately as good or bad, but just notice that it was a thing that is segregated and therefore freer and therefore going to say things that you wouldn't otherwise say?
So I'll give you an example because I've spent a lot of time in locker rooms at various points in my lives, various sports teams too. You know what I mean? Like I was captain of the fencing team in college, which, isn't the most macho group of dudes, but like you spend a lot of time in sports rooms, right? Where supposedly bad shit happens. I would actually say the thing that we publicly talk about is locker room talk, like really debased, crass, vulgar, sexual talk about women, is something that does exist. But there's actually a respectful limit that when it goes past that, a lot of other men police, right? Like there is actually like sort of, there are lines you can't cross without doing damage to your own reputation in the space. Right. So, but here's one that I find a very common feature of men's locker rooms that people don't talk about is it's a space where men positively affirm and discuss each other's bodies in a way that is interesting. Now, different cultural groups kind of handle it slightly differently, but I was in there and a guy had been coming in the gym a bunch and he had lost like 70 pounds. You know what I mean? Like he lost a lot of weight. And one of the other older guys there was like, "Hey, I see you coming in all the time. See all the work you're putting in. You're looking really good, brother. Like you're making that transformation. You're doing this stuff." And the guy clearly felt very proud of this, but he took a second. He was like, "I feel kind of vulnerable about it because I'm feeling much better. I'm clearly stronger." He's like, "But I got a lot of sagging skin. Like I got the skin thing. I lost the weight really fast." And the other guy says, "Well, as you build that muscle out, you're going to feel better about it, like, and you're doing great. Like you're looking good. Don't let that get in your head. Like keep going with this kind of stuff." I would guarantee you that man is not going to talk about his sagging skin in front of in mixed company. Do you know what I mean? Nor will he be positively affirmed in the same way even by another man in that same space. Like he can't get that. That's a special interaction that's going to happen in that locker room space. These are to what I overheard. I don't think they really knew each other. I think they had, their gym acquaintances. They had maybe said hello once or twice. Like this wasn't, they weren't friends, and yet they had this really beautiful kind of moment together.
Yeah. So that's really great. I really like that. I really like to hear that, I think that there's so as we sort of work out how we are going to build the more beautiful world that our hearts know is possible, we don't have the opportunity to move back into a time where we weren't in the predicament that we are in currently.
Sure.
And
We
so
start where we're at. Yeah.
we start where we're at, and we have to move forward, and we have to build the more beautiful world that our hearts know is possible. And so one of the things that I think about all the time is like just sort of asking the question a little more, just sort of, there's something a little bit, if we think of a tension between science and spirituality,
Mm.
then we may lose some of the good things in both of those spaces.
Right.
And one of the things that I think is really useful about scientific thought is that it doesn't judge before data has arrived.
Sure. Yeah.
The point is to be like, I don't know what's going to happen. What do you think is going to happen?
Right.
Let's watch. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so it's that suspension of judgment that I think could be imported into places that are not in the scientific laboratory domain that I think
Yeah.
would be really beneficial for us. And so that's part of the reason why I like this idea of understanding locker room talk not as, you could apply judgment and think crass, brutish, vulgar,
Yeah.
but what if instead you went descriptive? So maybe it's not something that is morally foul, but something that is segregated. Segregated is a really strong word here because, there we learned about civil rights in school, and the word that they always used was segregated to
Right.
refer to a policy called separate but equal, but which was
Right.
not actually equal. And when in fact the word segregation refers to the separation of it.
Right.
And so, and I like get in this weird space with racial politics where I'm like, the segregationists have a good point, and I feel weird about that. You know what I mean? I don't get there from the Bull Connor angle. I don't get there from the like
Yeah. Yeah.
these Negroes will never. You know what I mean? Like that's not my vibe. But the black nationalists, I listen to them and I'm like,
Right.
these motherfuckers got a point. And so if we take this word segregation and we suspend judgment just for a minute, then can we learn something?
So I have, I think the suspension of judgment is a good piece here, and I think the other piece is that we tend to not see individual cells, right, segregated cells. We see them as totally isolated. We don't see them as part of a networked system. So we conflate things a bit. So I'm friends with some folks who did a bunch of organizing in the Chicano stuff, back in the like late 80s, early 90s kind of time period. And one of the thing was that they had a bunch of sort of newer kind of progressive people. They were college age at the time, so they're coming in to kind of like take it up from the elders. And some of the newer people were like, why do you guys, the elders, have a men's group and a women's group? Like, we're all brothers and sisters in this struggle. We should all sit here together. And the elders were like, this is essential to getting this to work. And the new folks were like, well, we're going to try it a different way. And my friend who's a woman involved in this. She was like, we had to fix it. We had to go back to what the elders said. She was like part of the movement of the college students. Like, nope, we were wrong. The elders were right. Because what was happening was not only when the men were present, the women had not had time to talk amongst themselves in a place where they didn't have male influence or male needs working into their systems. But also the men had not had time to kind of like govern themselves and come up with what they wanted either. Right. And what they ended up doing was they would have these like separate meetings, and they would come together. Right. But the separate meeting had you held by the people who had the same problems you had, and you could talk about it much better. She then later experienced a thing where she was getting a lot of pushback from the sort of like 2010s students,
Mm-hmm.
and she's the elder now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, "Why is this separated?" And she's like, "Listen, let me, let me run you through the story. Like it's important."
We tried this.
And they got really mad at her, and they're like, "Well, you're reinforcing gender norms or this kind of stuff." And she's like, "No. If you think you belong in the women's circle, go to the women's circle. If you think you belong in the men's circle, go to the men's circle. If you want to start a circle that's for people who don't fit neither, start a circle for people who don't fit neither. If you have your own concerns, totally fine. But if you don't think you have shared concerns with people who have these bodies, conditions, identities, what they're doing, you're not going to build real community, right? Like you're just, it's all slogans and no work, right? And so what you're talking about is, I find that really interesting. I am also very moved by the Black nationalist stuff and Black Panthers and a bunch of other like writers along these kind of lines. And in the same way that I think feminists made quite a lot of power in creating women's circles, right? And then, Panthers, other Black nationalist groups did a lot of work in creating community that way. What I think is actually interesting is that men, by and large, abrogated their responsibility to make men's circles that were good, right? And like, it's not good that the only, like, I don't think we necessarily have to go with like quote unquote white culture, because there's a lot there that needs to get worked on, but like European American, whatever we're going to talk about it, but like those culture groups also didn't take the time to make something that could defend you against getting caught up. Like I heard a joke on the Daily Show where they were like, they saw the Scottish guys coming for the World Cup, and they were talking like a parade of Scottish dudes, and they're like, that's the first time I've seen a parade of white people that didn't have a bunch of white hoods attached to it. Sure. And like, that's a funny joke, but it's also really sad that like that's the only time you would see this, right? That's the only association for people. It's not even like, oh, it was when the Italians all got together to carry a statue through town. Like it's not. There's nothing else there. So I don't know. How does some of that resonate with how you're thinking about this too? Like these sort of networking and how these things interface. But yeah.
So the way that you described that there was really beautiful, especially in that Chicano space. That really makes a lot of sense there, and that to me makes a lot more sense along gender lines than it actually does among racial divides. So
yeah.
There's an inherentness to sex and gender that is just fucking real in a way that race is not real.
Agreed.
Like,
yeah,
it's just not a real thing. It was made up at a certain point in a way that sex was not. Sex, like plants have different sexes and stuff. So
yeah,
there's, like I think the separatists and the segregationists, they have a pretty good point, but we're past the point of no return.
Yeah. Yeah.
So given that, I feel like I want a unity somehow in that space, like that. I don't know. I want to return to colorblindness almost. That's not true, but it's close.
I think I do. I agree with you. I think you'll notice even in my examples, I'm reaching for like Italian heritage. You know what I mean? I'm reaching for these other touchstones that aren't tied into bullshit racial theory.
And I wish that like American culture was understood to be Black culture. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And almost not the other way around. You know what I mean? Like the idea that American culture precedes Black culture is absurd at this point. After the influence of language and
There's no
jazz and
food.
hip
There's
hop and whatever else.
yeah.
The
There's no
food,
music.
right?
There's no food. There's no like. There's
The
nothing
basic
that's
understanding of
untouched.
culture. The
Yeah.
cool that America is associated globally is as a result of Black people,
Yeah.
and so these have to be invested, and then Robert Pirsig spent a little bit of time talking about Native American culture and how it shaped white people's understanding of what it would be to be American
Sure.
in his book Lila, who knows? So Lila, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I
This
don't
is
know.
the
I
Zen and
don't
the Art
know.
of
That's why I
Motorcycle Maintenance
laughed.
guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like so that thing that is American culture, I would like it to sort of, I don't know. There's a unity piece there that I want to see, even though I understand the argument. So really, the point that I'm trying to make about the segregationists is not that I think we should live in a segregated society,
No.
because I think that would be devastating to Black
Yeah.
communities, because Black communities would then be their own nations that would then immediately get invaded. And so like you would lose immediately, and it would be terrible.
Yeah.
As soon as they discovered whatever natural resource you were sitting on or whatever, you know what I mean? Like it would be over immediately, and you would just be in slavery. So
Yeah.
it would be worse to do that. So because of that, I want to see integration wins out ultimately in the end, and
Yeah.
I want to see us move in that direction. But where I'm going with this is that part of what I would like to see in the more beautiful world that our hearts know is possible is a suspension of moral judgment around concepts that seem outland. So the idea of separatism, you know what I mean? Like the reason that I know that a Black separatist or a Black nation would be invaded immediately is because the South seceded and they were invaded immediately. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
this is a real thing that happened not that long ago.
Well, and also, I mean, there's a reason that Haiti was the only, enslaved society to achieve independence, because anytime it got tried on its own, anytime it got tried other places, they were invaded immediately. Haiti was also invaded immediately.
Right.
So
It's not going
there's
to work
no
this way.
example in history. Yeah.
So, yeah, and just look at this is the problem with geopolitics the world over is you need to be strong militarily in order for your neighbors to not fuck with you. It's a necessity. You have to police your borders, and we can't do that. But the idea here, that's most important is being able to separate how I feel from what is good. Because if I understand that the things that I like are not necessarily what is ultimately good, and the reverse of that is what is ultimately good might not be something that I like that much.
Right.
If we just suspend what I like for a moment, then maybe that can get us to a place where we can get to a better overall situation.
You are proposing something very similar to the philosopher John Rawls and the veil of understanding, right? And so in his case, he's like, if you had to make all your decisions before you knew what race, what gender, what sex, what anything else you were going to be, how would you want people to be treated? So it's if you suspended everything you knew for a second, and you couldn't figure out where your own personal advantage would be, what would you pick? And it's an interesting thought exercise. It pushes you in a bunch of different ways. I don't think it's entirely always great, but there's something about that suspension of nature, like throwing things up in the air for a second and be like, okay, hold on. What if this isn't about me? What if this is about how everybody interacts for a second. You start to wonder. I mean, this is also to as my father would put it. This is the golden rule. This is,
Sure.
you may not like. I mean, I actually like the silver rule better. Like, don't do to people shit you don't want done to you, which I think is actually a stronger. I think it's actually a stronger moral position. But there's some of that you may not like. You may not like the fact that you don't get to have dominance over someone else. You might like. Lots of people like being in charge. You know what I mean? Lots of people like having their way all the time.
Right.
I like having my way.
That's why I do magic.
But it may not be what's best, right? Ooh, dude, when you did when you said that's why I like magic thing, I heard Grandma Ursula and I heard Ogion, right, and being like,
for sure.
I was gonna walk in the rain. I'm not gonna fucking move these clouds around. I don't necessarily like walking in the rain, but I like it better than some other things.
I don't know that I like this guy Ogion that much, but I respect his position. I don't think he's wrong, but
I don't think he's wrong either. But I do a lot of magic.
Listen,
so,
the good is impenetrable. The Tao is impenetrable. If I get my way, then okay. The beauty of the Tao remains.
I will say that if you don't get in there and mix it up, how do you know if it's for you or not? How do you know? Yeah. But to your point about suspension of judgment until we try some things, like opening some opportunities up, trying some shit out, seeing how it goes. I think we have over the past 10, 15 years gotten very afraid of, as a culture, of being wrong.
Right.
And have lost a lot of the ability to be wrong in public and then learn and make adjustments. The
incentives
that's
There's no
detrimental.
incentive to be wrong. There's all the incentive to be right.
It's part of the reason I've been enjoying this whole Graham Plattner campaign in Maine, because he came out and was like, yeah, I was a Marine who had a bunch of PTSD in combat tours and solved that problem with alcoholism, and I spent a bunch of time on Reddit. I said a bunch of crazy, stupid shit that I'm not proud of. I did a bunch of crazy, stupid shit I'm not proud of. And over the past couple of years, I've been trying to get my life right. You're going to find a bunch of crazy, stupid shit I said that I don't believe anymore. But I'm hoping that you can see me be a better person every day. And I'm trying, I'm working on it. I think it's very encouraging that a lot of people are drawn to that message. And I think that's a good thing for more people to do. Now, we have to talk about sincerity. We need to talk about really doing the work. You know what I mean? It's really easy to sort of just paper over a bunch of stuff real fast. But I think that moving to a point in time as a culture where we understand that people are going to fuck some things up and be like, that's fine. We're going to, trusting in good hearts and good intentions, assuming good intentions from people, I think it would be a really nice, I would get us closer to the more beautiful world, right? Very much more quickly than yelling at people all the time.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think that yelling is going to. I do think that yelling will ultimately get tiresome, and we as a people will get tired of it. But I don't think that 2026 is the year for that.
No, I think we might have a little bit longer to wait. But that's okay. Listen, if you're trying to navigate, maybe you need a little truck stop magic to get you going in the right direction.
Indeed.
By the way, I'm excited about this, guys, because I've heard about this project. I'm getting off this. I'm buying the fucking thing. So I highly encourage you to do the same thing. Can't believe this is also the release party, but I've been looking forward to this for a bit. So
Indeed.
You should go check it out on ZamboniFunk.com. Wait, I even looked it up. You got a slash on this thing? Yes. Yeah, / truck stop magic. Just go to the website. It's good. You'll find it. It's got a dope picture of a wizard on top of a gas station.
Word. I'm glad that you like that. I try to make sure that the artwork reflects the vibes of the thing. But yeah, that's what we out here doing. Are you doing anything new at Brian or at WilkinsBryan.com? Are you're still out
same
here
as always,
giving reading?
36.
The Small Wheel of Gods.
Yep, Wheel of
Wheel
Small
of Small
Gods.
Gods. Uh-huh.
Yep, all that stuff is available. And then really the thing to keep an eye on right now is Substack. It's at Delicious Brian on Substack. And
Delicious Brian. Okay, cool. I'm glad that DB is making a comeback.
It is. And yeah, I'll throw a poem up this weekend. And there's like 6 or 8 that didn't make it into the new book, but I really love. They just, again, they weren't right for the project. So I'll start dropping those out. There should be some more writing there soon, just more general sort of essays and thought stuff. And then, yeah, pretty soon we'll be hopefully hearing about the new book. If it doesn't get picked up by people, they don't want to bring it out, I'll be bringing it out. So one way or another, you guys will get it by the end of the year. So.
By the end of the year. Okay. We're halfway done.
I'll give you either.
Popping out here.
It'll either be it's with this press and I have a date for you, or I'm bringing it out. One of the two. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Love to hear it. Great. Thank you, beautiful people, for being here. Thank you for listening to us, and look forward to seeing y'all next time. Peace and blessings.